hello, good filter-free America listeners. For some reason, you've come back. For another dose, another helping, another serving of the Filter-Free America podcast. And good golly, am I super pleased that you have, because if not, I would be doing this for absolutely no reason at all. I would just be talking into a microphone, loading it up onto these sites, and no one would be listening to it, and that would just be insanity. That would be crazy. But who knows? Maybe there is nobody actually listening. Maybe there's only the one time I listen to it after I've loaded it up just for, quality control, and that's it. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. I'm glad you're still doing it. If you are still doing it, if you're not still doing it, just humor me and play along so I feel better about myself and keep my low self-esteem in check. And everybody's going to be happy at the end of the day for that, right? Right, yeah. Hey, still got that sponsor. Still want to tell you about that sponsor, Simple Website. Simple Website, you know by now, Simple Website is the name of the company that sponsors the show right now. They are experts in taking the Squarespace website building tools and maximizing them to their fullest potential, right? It's just like, like when you're an old man, right? And you take some of those dick pills, right? And it makes your erection get super, super harder than it has been in years, right? Like hard, like you're like when you're 14. When do you start getting erections? 15, 13, 12, whatever, right? That's basically what they're doing for you as far as website building goes, right? They're a super erection building dick pill, but they make websites. Does that make sense? Okay, is that a good comparison? I don't know. Play along with me. Sometimes these things just come out. I don't write this stuff. I told you that before. I don't come up say this is probably going to be both funny and informative. No, I just say stuff. This is just my chance to freelance up here, to just spit random words that come out of my mouth, right, off the cuff. Whatever comes out, comes out. It is what it is. I don't try hard. I don't. It's much like I do in life. Whatever. Simple Website. Okay, they're gonna take your Squarespace game to the next level, to the extreme level, right? And they are going to build you a website and that you're going to be proud of, right? I mean, I get it. You're an averagely intelligent person, right? You could probably figure it out on your own. Yeah, that's what Squarespace is. It's made for people to do on their own, right? But some people don't have the time. Some people aren't as smart as other people. Talking to myself mostly, right? If that's you, if you fit any of these categories, just call the guys at Simple Website. Or go to their website, I guess. Simplewebsite.us. Simplewebsite.us. Okay? Go there. Take advantage of their free resources like tips and video courses, right? They got expert screen share support to help you when you get stuck in your website building. Or, like I said, you just throw them the keys, right? This is metaphorically throw them the keys. And their professional design team, their experts, their website assassins, I like to refer to them as, right? Because I like everything to have a violent descriptor to it. They will do it for you, and you just sit back, relax, right? Whatever your business is, whatever kind of I don't know. Maybe if you're what kind of business? Maybe you're a prostitute, right? Maybe you're a prostitute, right? And you want to advertise on the web, right? And you're like, hey, Simple Website, I would like a website to promote my wares, and my wares are vagina or penis, whichever one. We don't discriminate as far as prostitutes go. And I would like that advertised in a very unique and clever way on Squarespace. Could you help me out? And they're like, yeah, could you, I don't know, send some pictures of your vagina and or penis? And then you send them some pictures of your vagina and or penis, and they put them on the website along with some other clever stuff and links and stuff. And then boom, you've just got business coming in like crazy. Coming in works two ways. Whatever. I'm just saying, just go to simplewebsite.us. Simplewebsite.us. You go there. Get the help that you need. Do you need a lot of help? They got a lot of help for you. Do you need a little help? They'll give you a little help. Do you need some free help? They got some free help for you. They got all that. Simplewebsite.us. Boom. There we go. See, knocked that out really super quick. I don't know. I'm gonna make this a fast one. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking today, mainly because I got somewhere I got to be and I got to hurry up. It's nothing against you. It's all me. I'm irresponsible. I'm running out of time. Whatever. Episode 6 here. This episode is a don't eat lunch and listen to this. Or if you're into gross stuff, eat lunch and listen to this. Whichever one. You make the choice. That was your warning. There's no other warning here. That is the warning, okay? It gets graphic from here, okay? When the interview starts, it gets graphic, okay? That's it. That's all I'm going to tell you. You can't say, Joey, why didn't you warn us? You said some gross stuff. She said some gross stuff. I was trying to have a pastrami sandwich. And you said gross stuff, and then I puked up my pastrami sandwich. What kind of asshole host are you? No, this is your warning. If you got a sensitive stomach, if you get sick easy from hearing descriptive things, don't listen to this and eat food, okay? If that stuff bothers you at all, maybe find a different episode. This is not the one for you. But if you're into that stuff, holy shit, okay? What are we going to talk about? Well, my friend Ellie, been friends with her for a long time. She's a comedy fan, met her at comedy shows, right? She survived... lived through an incident where she contracted, is that the right word? Flesh-eating disease. Okay? I know that's a deceiving way to call it. Flesh-eating disease. It's not a disease where she wants to start eating flesh. That's what I thought it was. I was completely wrong. I'm like, weird. That's a disease where you're like a zombie or something? No. It's where your disease starts to eat away your flesh, right? And its survival rating, not very good. You'll find that out in the episode. You could die very, very easily. Lots of people do. Oh, here's something I learned too. Again, this goes to the people who get grossed out easy. Don't Google image flesh-eating disease unless you want to get grossed out. Yeah, that was disgusting. But whatever. She is going to talk about from the day one, for she first noticed the first signs of it, to the whole process, to going to the hospital, the whole 9 yards, what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and all that stuff. She's going to tell it all right here on the Filter Free America podcast. But now we need a name. We need a name for this episode. What are we going to do it? What are we going to call it? I didn't think of a name. I don't know. Flesh-eating disease. I don't know, man. How about this episode is going to get under your skin? I don't know. I don't like that one either. Let's just keep it simple. I survived flesh-eating disease. That's the name of the show. That's the name of this episode. I survived flesh-eating disease. Boom. Filter-free America. Let's go. What was the first symptom or sign that something was wrong?
I didn't even take it as a sign that anything was wrong. It was just a small bump that I found when I was in the shower.
Like a pimple bump?
Yeah, it was like an ingrown hair, something like that. And that's all that I really thought that it was. So I didn't think much of it, went about my day. The next day in the shower, again, noticed it was a little bit larger. It was about the size of, I'd say maybe...
Within the day?
The next morning. Next morning.
Okay.
Yep, so the next day it was like about the size of a dime. Like it was a raised area, but it wasn't like huge. It wasn't like it was pus or anything like that. It was just a raised area. It wasn't red, anything like that. And I was like, this is really weird. And so I called my mom because she's a nurse. And I was like, this is really morbid, but can you come take a look at my lady parts because something's going on.
Right.
And so she came over and she was like, yeah, I've not seen anything like that. She goes, it doesn't look like an ingrown hair. There's not like a hair there. So I think you should go in.
At this point, are you, because this is what I do, because I'm an idiot, is I immediately, when there's something wrong with me and I don't know what it is, I have the worst case scenario things going through my head immediately. And if with me, it's always, what STD did I get and how did I get it? So was that?
That was not even a concern. I was so not active, anything like that at that point. So I knew it wasn't anything crazy like that. But I was thinking
like my fear is like what if there's like one they didn't discover and it hides
right, it's in hibernation.
Yeah, like I got it like I finger banged some girl like in junior high or something like that, and it creeped in through like a hangnail, and it's just been creeping through my body.
It's been incubating for all
and
this time.
Now in my late 30s, now it's gonna come out. It's time. Now you're gonna die.
No, I was never like that before. I was just kind of like, I'll make it till Friday, then I'll go to the doctor. It's not a big deal. You know, it's probably nothing. Whatever.
Me. My other thing would be I would try to. Well, let me see if I can do this myself and like try to operate and try to be like the pimple popper lady.
Well, that was the thing. It wasn't like a pimple or anything. It was just a raised area. It wasn't like there was a head on it or anything. It was just raised, like in a circle. So I didn't really.
Could have been growing a horn or something.
Right? I don't know what the heck's going on at that point.
Fair enough.
So I was like, well, I mean, I feel fine. I haven't had a fever. Like, if there was something major
No
going
other
on,
symptoms going on. No.
I would have. I was tired. I was fatigued.
Okay.
But as you know, because you've known me before all of this, I ran a daycare for 12 years, and so I was working
And that's
really
just
hard.
exhausting, just even thinking about the idea of running a
It
daycare.
is. I had 10 kids in the summertime that I,
Jeez.
would run around with, even during the school year, because this happened in March.
Right.
And I had 6 kids that were there with me full time during the day. And I was also going through Parent Aware, which is the process you go through to get your star rating through the state of Minnesota. So I was going through and doing all that paperwork and working. So I was working roughly 19 to 20 hours a day, sleeping 4 hours. Of course, I'm exhausted.
Right.
I really didn't think that was anything that had to do with this. So I got about halfway through that second day. It was maybe 3 o'clock. I'm usually done at 6. And I had to call my mother because I was there with the kids outside. They're playing, and I'm like, I'm going to fall asleep standing here. I was so tired. And my mom has done all the same training as I did. She was like my backup
and that's
person.
definitely more
Yeah.
exhaustion than
Yeah.
just
Definitely
dealing
more
with
than
kids.
just regular. Yeah. So she came over and watched the kids. I went upstairs and immediately fell asleep. When the kids were gone, she came up at 6 and she was like, honey, you really should go into the doctor because this is a lot. And she's like, you don't know what this thing is and you're so tired. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been working for the last 3 weeks, 20 hours a day. Of course I'm exhausted. My body's finally like, you've burned the candle at both ends for too long. Go to sleep.
Right.
So I was like, I'll be fine. I'm going to make it to Friday. Then I'll go to the doctor. I don't want to put all my families out and call them and be like, hey, by the way, you have no daycare tomorrow. That's a lot for people. And so woke up the next morning and it was now my entire upper right thigh that was red and inflamed and hurt. And I was like, yeah, so I called everyone. This is day 3. Day 3. And so I called everyone, told them, you know what, I'm going to go into the doctor because this is definitely something major going on. So I went to urgent care just down the road.
Is it like muscle affecting too? Like when you walk and you...
No, I could walk, jump, run, whatever. But when I touched it, it was tender.
Okay.
It was like if somebody punched you in the leg, kind of like that feeling. So I went to urgent care and walked in there and, dropped trow and they were like, go to ER.
Like right away?
Yeah. And I was like, this is serious.
Did they say anything
no.
there?
And I'm like, what is it? What are your thoughts? They're like, you need to go to ER and get it checked out is what you need to do.
Were they like backing away to the
Yeah,
door?
literally
don't come
backing
any
up
closer.
like out that way, pointing the other direction, out that way.
Holy shit.
And so I literally drove home shaking because now I'm completely freaked out. I called my mom, like, I don't think I can drive to the hospital. Will you drive me? Because she just lives like a block and a half.
Hold on, that's fucked up that they don't... Is that...
Yeah. I thought it was. I mean, if they...
Was there like fear in their eyes? Like when
I don't know if there was fear in their eyes, but they definitely didn't know what it was and weren't going to take a stab in the dark about it. So...
Holy shit.
Yeah. So my mom drove me over to Fairview Southdale, which is in Edina, and went in there, and I don't remember a whole lot about it other than what other people have told me because they started me on IVs and drugs immediately. And but I
you
know
didn't have to wait in line, huh?
No, didn't have to wait in line.
We'll have a seat over there next to
Told
the
them-
other sniffle
No,
people.
no,
over
told
there
them my
coughing.
symptoms, and they're like isolation back in that
Right.
room.
Go,
I'm like,
go get in
oh,
this
great.
broom closet.
Yeah. So I went in, they took a look, and they came back and said, we're going to do blood work, but here's our initial thoughts. It's one of 3 things. And my mom and I both don't remember what the third one was because it was ruled out almost immediately. But one was MRSA, and the other one is necrotizing fasciitis,
And that's the fancy way to say...
the flesh-eating disease.
What's the other one? MRSA?
MRSA.
What is that?
It's another, I'm not sure all the ins and outs about it. I've had to learn all about NF, so that was more of my focus. But MRSA is another infection, basically.
And
And
do you remember if the third one was an infection based?
it was bacterial based.
Okay, so
but
it definitely they knew it was going to be some kind of infection.
Yeah, they knew it was something major that was going on, and what it ended up being was a major staph infection is what caused it.
Okay.
But so they did all the blood work. They came back. They're like, okay, it's under the microscope, it's the wrong shape to be this. So they got rid of some of the IVs, and they came in and talked to me, and they had me sign my waivers. They're like, we're going to take you into surgery. Before surgery, I should back up. What they did initially after the IVs and all of that is they decided to send me down to have, what is it called? A CAT scan done, basically. Okay. So I got in the little tube thing and whatever, and they were looking basically for gas because NF causes gas to form under your skin as well. Okay. And it's one of the signs that they can look for to basically say indefinite that it is.
Like what kind of gas?
It's from the bacteria. The bacteria, as it's basically eating away at your skin, is giving off gases.
Oh,
and
like
it's
digestion
building up.
gases.
Yeah, it's like building
Holy
up under
shit.
your skin. Yeah.
So it could like bubble up like a.
Yeah, it can bubble up. Like you can, if it's in a more advanced stage, you can actually get black blisters is what it looks like. And from what doctors have told me and other people who I know in the NF community now that I've been through it have told me is that when those pop is that it just, you'll never forget the smell. It smells like a corpse. It smells of death because that skin is
So let me dumb it down for my trailer court listeners. So this living disease is eating you.
Yes, it's the flesh-eating disease for a reason,
And it's getting the farts. And it's farting underneath your skin.
I wouldn't go that
both
far.
Crazy and cool at the same time. Like okay.
Yeah, it's
the worst pull my finger joke ever. Disease. Anyway.
But mine didn't get to that advanced a stage where I had blisters or
goodness.
anything. Thankfully, I caught it early.
Right.
But NF is one of the fastest moving bacteria ever. They say it's the Mario Andretti of the bacteria world, that it moves that fast. So after they did all the scans,
Sure, Mario Andretti appreciates that comparison.
Right? You're welcome. So
he actually farts in his car when he's driving really fast.
That's how you get the extra speed. That's why he doesn't have to stop for gas.
That's why he's so fast.
It just keeps things going. So after they got all this figured out, they were like, you need to go in for surgery because now we know what this is, and it's just going to continue to grow and get larger and eat away at more of your skin unless we do a major surgery. So I had to sign for surgery, and I'm like sitting there on all my drugs with IVs, ready to sign the waiver.
What was I'm always curious about, when they give the bad news part. So did the doctor tell you what it was?
Yes, the doctor told me what it was.
So what was his bedside manner like? Was it like we got to tell you something?
It was pretty cut and dried. I mean, at that point, they don't want to really go skirting around the issue. They want to tell you, and so that he basically just came out and he's like, "This is a major infection. You're going to have a lot of fat, muscle loss. Possibly, you may lose your leg." And
upfront about it? No.
Very upfront about it. Very upfront.
Now, this is not common, right? This is not like common cold level stuff. What's the yearly? Do you know what?
I think the yearly nationwide, and like not U.S. but nationwide, I think is 1,000 to 2,000 people a year.
Wow.
So it's pretty rare.
Okay.
Pretty rare. The only study I've ever seen done on people with NF as far as like life expectancy and things like that was a group of 400 people. So that's how few people they can get even round up to do a group. Like there's just not a lot of people.
Did he mention, was this his first case? Was he?
No, I didn't want to ask.
Was he like kind of like, this is kind of cool. This is like my first one.
They definitely weren't excited. Everyone, I mean, I was put in isolation because the bacteria and staph and everything that causes this, if once they open everything up, it's very contagious. So was everybody in suits, like they'd walk in, put on the paper suits, masks.
Oh, they're like monkeypox.
Yeah, like I'm in a room.
Right?
Yeah, I'm completely
Holy
outbreak
shit.
in my own room. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So after I signed the waiver, obviously I went in for surgery, and
that's the take my leg waiver. Is that?
Yeah, that was we might take your leg, we might not. You might wake up without it. We're not sure at this point, but this is your heads up kind of a deal. So that's definitely a pause before you sign that. It's like, well, what's my other option, to die?
I kind of like to know for sure. Like, for sure you're going to take my leg? That's a little bit better than, hey, you may not have a leg when you wake up,
Right. Well, I was honestly more worried of what kind of shape of a leg I would have if they left it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because this was, right in my groin area. It's literally right in the crease where your leg joins your body. So I was like, if they're taking out this huge part, I mean, what's my leg even going to look like if I get to keep it? Like, do I want to keep it? Would I just rather have it amputated? Like, I didn't even know.
Of course, my first question would be, how about the penis? Is my penis going to be... Is it going to be okay? I got 2 legs. I got 1 penis. Go ahead and take the... Okay.
I was lucky because mine started in that area, but it ended up in my leg. So I don't know how that works exactly. Right. But there are women who've had NF who actually have part of their labia removed, things like that happen. Men who have had their penises removed. So
they're not men anymore.
Right, but it happens.
I'm sorry, it's a bad joke, sir.
But it does happen. So thankfully not to me. But,
right. Holy cow.
So anyway, went in for the surgery, and I was out for 8 days. They put me in a medically induced coma because they had so much fat and muscle and tissue and everything that they took out. And my mom actually had to sign for a second surgery for me Because when they came off after this first surgery and they went to look at it, they were concerned about 2 of the edges. They weren't sure if they'd got it all during the surgery. So they went in a second time and removed more just to make sure they got all of it.
So the procedure is you don't treat it and kill it off. You cut it out.
Yeah, you cut it out.
That's
At
it.
that point, you're done. Yeah, it has to be cut
So
out.
anywhere
of your
that
body.
there's no treatment that where some of the flesh can heal back
Some of it does heal back, but anything that's been affected by the bacteria that is getting black and necrotic, which is basically what happens. Necrotic is just the flesh dying.
Right.
Anything like that has to be removed because that flesh is not coming back. Once it's necrotic, it's got to be cut out. Otherwise, it just affects everything around it. So, yeah. So it's pretty intense. They put me in a medically induced coma, which I was.
Excuse me.
They put me in a medically induced coma, which I was in for 8 days, and had the second surgery during that time.
Is that just because you're dealing with the pain?
Yeah, to keep my pain and basically to keep me alive, because the bacteria not only affects your skin, your dermis, your muscle, and all of that, it's also in your bloodstream. So my body was systematically shutting down. So they had to put me under so that they could get everything under control because my liver was failing, my kidneys were failing.
Excuse me.
And once you get to that point, it becomes like a waterfall effect. When each of those things starts to shut down, it can shut down your entire body and kill you.
Wow.
The particular kind of necrotizing fasciitis, flesh-eating disease I had is called foreigner's gangrene, which means that it's in your private area for a man or a woman. And it has a 75% mortality rate.
Jeez.
So I was not looking at good odds. So after
Did they tell you that right away too? Was that a...
No. I heard all those lovely details later. Because of course, just like before, you knew what I was going to talk with you about. I'm sure you didn't really know anything about necrotizing fasciitis. Like, what's the flesh-eating disease other than it eats flesh? I mean, that's it, right? But that's what everybody else knew too. But we found out more information. Obviously, people did research while I was in a coma and wanted to know what was going on with me. And yeah.
So do they know what caused it? Or
they're not sure.
Okay.
They're not absolutely sure. Usually, what causes it is when your body is under stress or you have some kind of underlying medical condition. And for me, what they think it is, they keep saying that it was probably from like a nick from shaving or something like that. But I'm here to tell you, I hadn't done that anytime recently.
Really?
So I don't know what it came from. I didn't have any other bruises, cuts, scrapes, abrasions, nothing on my body where it could have like gotten in. Because that's usually what happens is you'll hear stories about people who have NF that get, major amputations, like where they've lost limbs. And they're always like, zip lining across a river and the rope snaps and hits their leg and then they fall in water and that's how it gets in. You know what I mean? It's usually some kind of, specific tale like that is what I hear. But for me, they're not exactly sure. But for me, about 2 months before all this happened, I'd been doing a juice cleanse. I was doing like a juice kind of a diet. And either in doing that or not knowing I was already and then doing a juice cleanse, I found out I'm diabetic. So having all that sugar in my body and not knowing that I should be taking care of that is what caused my immune system to be suppressed. Whereas, if you get strep or something like that, your body can fight it off. Mine couldn't because my immune system was suppressed. So that's kind of the line that I think it was more along. I don't think it was really about a cut or anything like that.
Do doctors kind of back that up? Do they think that's a logical?
They think it's very logical. I mean, obviously, having diabetes can definitely affect it. Anything, if you have lupus, things like that, anything else medically that causes your immune system to be suppressed is going to make you more likely to get something like that.
Wow.
It was very intense. When I came out of the coma, I didn't even know I was out of the coma for about 5 days. Because all of the drugs that they had me on, the propofol, is that the one that killed Michael Jackson? Propofol? Something like that.
Sounds like one of them.
Fentanyl, all that killed Prince. I was on all of those drugs. The only reason I didn't die on them is because I had a ventilator because I was in a coma.
Keeping you up.
Yeah, keeping me breathing.
Doing all the breathing stuff for you.
Right. So when
and again, that's just because of the high amount of pain is why they had to have all that?
Well, pain and because I think they call it cascading, where your body systems start to shut down. Right. So in order to limit the stress on your body, they put you in a coma so that they can get all those things under control. Okay. And yeah, my kidneys, my liver, my kidneys are still extremely affected by it. I still have to work on that all the time, going for blood work.
And then the 5 days is just your body pushing out all the
drugs that I was on and being under for so long.
Are they is a weaning off process at that, or is it just they just cut you off and it's just your body literally taking 5 days for it to all work its way out, the shelf life of the drugs in your body already?
Yeah, I think that it's something like that, because when they took out the tube, they call it weaning you off of being intubated. It's extubated.
Right.
And so when that happened, it took them 5 tries to do that because I wasn't breathing on my own yet, which is why I ended up being under for 8 days.
They pull it out and you're like, oh,
yep. And they're like, nope, she can't breathe on her own. My mom said she watched the first time they did it and I was turning purple and I was clawing because I couldn't breathe. And yeah.
But not conscious of
But I was not conscious of any of that happening.
Do you have any memories at all from the 5-day span?
Not from those first 4 days. The 5th day I have some memory of. Okay. But the first 4 days when I came out of the coma, I have no recollection. And I was the Tasmanian devil, apparently.
Really?
Because from all those drugs on me, I actually had what they call ICU delirium, which means I literally was crazy from all those drugs that I was on.
Really?
So I thought people were trying to kill me. I didn't know what country I was in. I didn't know where I was. I didn't recognize anyone.
This is the 5th day of coming out?
This is like day 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
The first 4 days, I was completely out of it, just in this drug haze.
Okay. So you were conscious then, but just...
I was conscious, but I have no recollection of it. Yeah, I was
okay.
completely nuts, like literally crazy. And so they literally had to strap me to the bed. I was fighting with the nurses, anyone who's trying to take care of me. One of the nurses came to do, I think it was a blood draw.
This is normal, right? They anticipate
it happens. It happens to people. Probably not to my extent. I think I was a little surprised for them. But yeah, she came to do a blood draw or something that she was going to do, and I didn't want her to do it. And apparently I leaned over like I was going to bite her as she came to the bedside. So when she backed up...
You were going to eat her flesh.
Right?
See? Turn tables on them, right?
Right, just turn it all back around.
Oh my God.
So I took my leg, my affected leg that I just had 2 major surgeries on. Yeah. No, I lifted up my leg and I kicked her across the room.
Leg works.
So I was on good drugs, right?
Holy cow.
Yeah. So they had me strapped to the bed, and that's the way that I stayed until... I think it was about day 6 or 7. But by day 5, my mom actually came to my bedside, and for the first time, I recognized her. She had been there every single day with me through it. That was the first time I recognized her. And she told me, I was so excited to see her, I almost pulled her through the bed rail. Because I just grabbed her and pulled her to me, and I said, get me out of here. Right. That was it. I was like, let's go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at that point now, you're conscious, you're aware of what's going on. Where's your pain at now? The drugs have...
Pain is at 0.
Really?
They were coming in and doing shots, and I had IVs, and I had everything in the world hooked up to me. I had literally 3 IV poles around me. That's how many bags of things were on there.
Have you looked at your leg at this point?
Nope. Okay. No, I couldn't. When I was finally conscious enough to realize what was going on, I felt, and I was like, okay, I have a leg. We're good. Okay. We're good. That was it.
That's gonna be... Oh man, that's gonna be a weird experience.
That was it. I didn't want to look because I'm like, I've had these major surgeries. I'm obviously have been crazy. Because they would tell me things that I've done or things I've said, and I'm like, how long have I been here? I didn't know what day it was. Right. I was so disoriented, and it was a very surreal experience.
How long did it take you to look at it?
I did not look at it until a week before my wound was closed.
How long was that after?
Let's see, that was from the end of March was when I had my first surgery, was March 28th. I didn't look at it until June.
Okay, wow. I
couldn't. I knew when you have a major open wound like that, they don't just let it heal on its own. Because what your skin's going to want to do is heal over the top to close it. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have all that open space where more bacteria can form. Okay. So what they do is they give you a wound vac. So basically it's this black, it looks like packing foam. But it's all one piece. That's what it kind of feels like, is packing foam. Okay. And they put that in the wound. And then they cover it up with this really industrial like tape to stick to my leg in this case. And it's got a little nozzle on it. And this hooks up to a tube to basically like your own little portable generator that keeps sucking all the junk out of the wound. So it sucks out blood, pus, anything else that's forming in there as it's healing. Okay. So I had to sleep with that thing, walk around with that thing.
The tissue, I'm just visualizing like a like a canyon cut out of your leg, mm-hmm. and does that allow the flesh to kind of regenerate?
Yep, to build up from the bottom up. Yep.
So how much before it healed did they tell you, or do you know, like what was the total like weight of the
They didn't.
flesh removed, or amount, or
They didn't tell me weight or anything, but I can give you some.
like if I was going to go to a
dimensions.
deli and order the amount of flesh removed from you, like how many pounds of Ellie would I thinly sliced for sandwiches would I get? Would it be?
I wouldn't know to put a weight on it, but I can give you some staggering dimensions.
Okay.
So where my wound is, like I said, it's from where my leg connects to my body. So just in that crease.
Okay.
So it goes from starting at my hip. It wraps all the way around my leg and underneath my leg, almost entirely around my leg. So it's an 18-inch.
Like a complete circle around, or is it
Yep.
kind of coiled down
It's
like
like
a
a
barber's
letter
pole?
C, like a letter C.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's 18 inches long, so that's almost the entire length
too.
around my around my leg.
No.
And it was approximately 5 inches wide and approximately 5 inches deep.
Jesus.
So I
the depth,
literally
that's what-
almost had my leg removed.
So they're down bone level then, right? 5 inches?
It was
damn near.
There was muscle. There was muscle left. They weren't down to bone.
Okay.
I thank God every day for my chubby little thighs. I think they help save my leg.
Right. If you're like
'Cause
some
all that
scrawny,
fat.
you know,
Yep.
there wouldn't be that much flesh to eat.
Right?
Wow. So is the scar, is it bad?
It's hideous. No, it's
Okay.
not. It's really not bad. My
Did they do
doctor.
any plastic surgery after the fact, or?
No, I
Okay.
didn't have to have surgery. I didn't need skin grafts. I didn't need anything like that, which I'm extremely fortunate for because most people do need that.
Okay.
If they're able to keep their limbs, they do need that. So I definitely won the lottery as far as if you get this, how it turns out.
I mean, outside of, being close to like your genital area, which is a sensitive area, because I looked at, at Google Images, flesh-eating disease, and there's people like half their face are gone, and like you see their skull,
Yeah,
and they're alive, and
it's very
that's
true.
not only is that disgusting, it's just bizarre, and it's got to be just weird psychologically to a person to live and
It
be
is
that,
psychologically.
a walking.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be mean to them. Like I'm a walking monster to like some person just. So I guess in a way you're kind of lucky that you're in an area that you can.
Yeah, that
keep-
I can cover. Like unless
Yeah.
I'm wearing a swimsuit, no one's gonna see it. But my doctor.
Can you get a tattoo over it? Can you get like some like a snake? Like a just.
I've had enough people working down there. I really don't need a tattoo. You know what I'm saying?
Holy
But
cow.
I give huge props to my surgeon, Dr. Sarah Wildenberg at Fairview, Southdale, because she did an amazing job doing the debridement, which is what they call it when they take out all that stuff and kind of leave a flat plane to work with.
Do you know what the process is? Is it just cutting it with a knife? Are they using a laser? What are they?
I
Like a
didn't ask.
backhoe? Are they digging it out? Like,
Right.
what's the-
They could have used a backhoe. It was a large area.
Jeez.
But I like to think it was lasers. I think that makes it sound really, really cool.
Right? Some Star Trek shit.
But I kind of have a feeling it was just like masks and elbow deep, like cutting out stuff. Man. I've never really asked about the actual surgical portion of it because I wanted nothing. I didn't want to know anything about what was going on down there.
See, whenever I go to the doctor, like I've had my gallbladder removed, I've had my appendix removed, I've had some teeth pulled. What else? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. But every time I get a procedure done, I always ask him, "Can I have it?" like, can he like my appendix or whatever? Can he just like put it in like a little jar
A little
for me?
pickling jar for me
Yeah.
to take it home.
Yeah,
Little show and
it's
tell.
mine, and they won't let you do that, which is weird because it's like it's
true.
mine, and then I got to pay to take it out, and I don't get like a kickback for you keeping my shit. But
There are, in certain cases, you can keep it. I mean, there's certain laws and things like that in different states. I mean,
Really?
it just depends on where you live.
like if they would have cut my leg off, I'd like, no, let's freeze that or something.
There are people who have kept a leg that they've had amputated or things like that. But I
Yeah,
think there's
make
a
a
whole
lamp out of it,
procedure. Oh my god,
Like Christmas
we're
story,
not
but like
we're
legit.
not going. Who is the serial killer that did with that with the lampshades in the skin and all that?
I don't know. Oh, I do know. What's his name? Guy from Wisconsin.
Yes,
What the hell
you know
is his
who
name?
I'm talking
I
about.
interviewed his cousin or his great grandson. God, I can't remember his name right now. Yeah,
Well, we'll leave it. You'll put
Yeah.
it in later.
something. So many killers that did crazy stuff like that.
But no, nothing like that. I didn't, and I don't think they'd let you take home like decaying necrotic contagious tissue. I don't think that would probably be cool. But
Make like a paperweight out of it, something like that. I don't know. So you're ready to leave the hospital, right? At this point?
oh no.
No.
Now remember, I was in a coma for 8 days,
Right.
crazy for 4 days. I'm still at the hospital. I've been strapped to the bed this whole time because I've been psychotic trying to kill people.
Right.
I'm finally like becoming lucid because they gave me Haldol, which is a major psychiatric drug to like bring me back.
What, now, why is that? What's...
Because Adderall didn't work. So they went to the next step. They couldn't get
See,
me
I
out of that
I was in jail
psychotic,
with somebody
delusional.
who was on Haldol,
Mhm.
and he walked around like a fucking zombie. Like he was just like, he was there, but he wasn't
Oh, yeah.
there.
That's how I felt for probably the next 4 days after Haldol. Because everything kind of seemed like it was moving in slow motion. I still couldn't tell time and place, and I still didn't know what country I was in. Like, it was bizarre. Definitely
Where'd you
bizarre.
think you were at? Did you have any weird...
I didn't know. I thought I got on a plane somewhere. I asked my mom about this afterwards because I'm like, why did I think I was in another country? And she's like, oh, honey, she goes, Fairview, Southdale. She goes, it's, you know, there's people of every nationality. They're speaking every language. She goes, I'm sure when you were in your coma, if there was people in the room, they're speaking in their own, you know, native tongues or dialects. And because you're not, you know,
I
they
didn't
don't need
watch
to
the
speak to
news.
you.
The president's orange? What the fuck? What planet am I on now?
That was actually the first, one of the first questions I remember them asking me, which they had been asking me every day since I was conscious, but I wasn't really there. And
Donald
they
Trump's the
came in-
president? Take my brain. Just take it now. Let's get it over with.
They asked me, you know, what day it is. I don't know. Who's the president? And it dawned on me, and I was like, fucking Trump. And it was the most depressing epiphany to wake up to.
Right. They really need to change that question now. They need to ask something else. Oh my God. So, again, okay, you where are we at on days now?
Let's see here. We have two surgical day, well, one surgery day, and then 8 days of coma. 4 days of the drugs.
Okay.
And so now they're at a stage where I'm unstrapped from the bed.
Okay.
Now, here's an interesting little detail that people don't know about when you have a lengthy hospital stay like this, especially when you're psychotic and strapped to a bed after a major surgery that almost took your leg. They don't let you up. You're just in that bed. Like, you can't move, you can't go anywhere. You've had major surgery, and when you're strapped down, your muscles atrophy quicker than you could ever imagine.
All right.
So I have a catheter, so I can go to the bathroom. But when it's been this long and they're feeding you, you know, through your, when you're intubated, feeding you fiber and whatever else they put in there, eventually you have to poop.
Right.
And you can't just obviously do that in the bed. So they give
Says you.
Oh, but I did. They give you what they call
They give me another vacuum for this.
Right. They give you an inflatable, which sounds completely innocuous. I'm
Right.
sitting there as a daycare provider going, I get those for my kids for graduation, like the bounce house. What are you talking about, inflatable? You know what I mean?
Right.
And no. So what this thing is basically
I've never shit in a bounce house. Not yet. I aspire to.
Right.
Right before some kids go into it, just leave one in there.
God.
Happy birthday, Billy. It's for you.
It's for you. But this device that they're going to use basically is the size of my forearm,
Okay.
and it goes up your rectum. And so
Whoa.
I had one put in while I was in a coma, which great. I didn't have to feel that, didn't have to deal with that. But obviously it needs to get changed every so often. So I was out of the coma. I mean, still on pretty good drugs.
Wait a minute. So is it like a plug?
Yeah, it's basically like a plug with a bag. Like, it's like a catch system.
So it catches it inside of you,
Yes.
and then they pulls it out, and it's
Yep,
it's an
it
inflatable
goes
bag of
it goes
poo?
way up in there with this bag attached, and as you're going, it just goes into the bag. Yeah, super awesome.
That sounds slightly hot. I don't know.
Well, it is when you first go. I mean, it's warm when it comes out, but
It is. Some people would pay for that. You know, it's just for the.
but
Can I
so
get
they
an
have this.
inflatable, please?
Yeah, so they have this device, and so when they have to take it out and put a new one in, I mean, taking it out was painful, but putting it back in when you're awake and conscious and can pucker,
Right.
it's super painful. So they're trying to get
And
me to
awkward.
relax. Yeah, right. And so they're trying to get me to relax to put this in. They finally managed to get it in, and now it's leaking.
Is there a specialist that does that? Is that like a?
I don't know who would want that job. Like, who goes to school and is like, I'm being an inflatable
I'm just
specialist.
an inflatable inserter.
Right?
It's going to be the inserter and the remover, just two separate jobs.
Right. It would definitely have to be.
Good God.
But so they are like, we need to adjust. We're gonna have to take this one out and put a new one in because this one's leaking. And I looked at the nurse and I'm like, if you take that out of me, I said, you'll fight me to the death to put it back in. I'm like, that hurts. And she, oh, it's not that bad. I'm like, have you ever had one? She's like, no. I'm like, then don't tell me. It was horrible.
I love how they do that. I think, of course, they just say that because they, trying to get on your side. Like when I got shot, I had to get a catheter put in, right? And they stick it in your dick. I don't know it's how guys work. But and it was a dude who did it, and he's like, you should let me do it, because I'm a little bit more aware of how dicks work because I have one. That was kind of his message to me. I guess that made sense to me.
Okay.
But yeah, that was very awkward and painful. So I could imagine. I haven't anything jammed up my ass yet, though.
Yeah, so I lost my anal virginity in a hospital to strangers against my will.
Oh, there you go.
It's kind of how I always figured it would go down. I mean, not maybe the hospital scenario, but
Well, at least it was a doctor,
Right. At least it's a professional.
Classic.
I mean, who could ask for more? So after I've had this for a few days, they want to get me up to start walking because they do want me to be able to go to the bathroom and function again as a human being. Because I've been strapped down so long, all my muscles have atrophied, and having my arms strapped down for so long, I can't even lift a spoon. Like, that's how weak I am. I can't lift a spoon. I can't find my mouth once I can lift the spoon.
We're like 15 days, right?
This is maybe 12, 13 days.
Really?
Yep, 12, 13 days. Yep.
I guess that makes. I couldn't believe it'd be that. I mean, I could understand like stiffness and all that, but I really
but the
lack
atrophy
of strength
is real. Well, I think it's coupled with the major surgery and my body trying to combat all this stuff, having all those drugs put on me, and being strapped down.
Okay.
Like, I think it was kind of a combination of everything. Because I mean, you know what I look like. I'm not like a frail, weak kind of a person. I mean, my legs are pretty muscular, but even my legs, like, I couldn't stand up the first time they wanted to have me stand.
Right.
I sat on the edge of the bed and went to stand up like you normally would, and I didn't move.
Wow.
And that was the weirdest feeling in the world for my brain to be going like, and we're standing and we are not.
Can you lift your arms at that point? Were you like...
I could lift my arms, but not like above my head yet. Like, I mean, I could lift to eat and stuff like that, but I was still super weak. Like, they brought in like a mug just with ice water in it, like a hospital mug. I don't know how big they are, but they're not that many ounces. I mean, what are they? Maybe 12 ounces, something like that. And had some ice in it, and I couldn't lift it. It was too heavy.
Wow.
So, like, that's how weak I was at that point. But, yeah, so they finally were able to get me up and get me walking. I had a little walker I had to use.
How much, not talking about specifically just a wound, but since you were down, you were eating modified meals and things like that. Most of your meals were coming through IV. How much weight did you lose just in the hospital stay?
30 pounds.
30 pounds. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's how many days total?
It was 17 days total before I went.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it was also because of all the drugs I couldn't, when they wanted me to start eating by mouth, and initially because you've been intubated, you haven't been using or swallowing or doing any of that for yourself. The machine's been doing it for you.
Right.
So they start you off with thickened liquids. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've ever had thickened water or like these things that they start.
I've seen it before.
It is so vile and so disgusting.
It's like a powder that's like called thickum. It's actually that they mix into the food
and
or
it
the
does.
whatever.
It's like having water in like a jelly state.
Yeah.
And it's horrible because it's awful. And but my mouth was so dry from like being open in this vent for so long, and I hadn't had water by mouth. I had everything by IV.
Right.
They wouldn't allow me anything by mouth in case I choked because my body wasn't used to swallowing anymore because I'd had this tube.
That's crazy. There's only like 15,
and I'm just
16,
like,
17
water.
days you can get
like
that.
It was just a bad B movie. I'm just laying in the bed. I want water.
Right.
And they'd give me this thickened water, which was, I mean, I wasn't parched anymore, but it was disgusting. And from all the drugs that I was on, nothing tasted good. Everything literally tasted like garbage. Absolute garbage, hot garbage, all the time. Any food. I couldn't eat any of it. It would make me sick.
It was like eating at McDonald's every day.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was horrible.
McDonald's is not a sponsor, nor
nor would they be now.
No. So we're 17 days, right?
We are now 14 or 15 days.
14 or 15 days.
I'm finally taking some steps.
Okay.
They came to me and they were like, well, we want to get you out of the hospital. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, I can go home with the walker. I can make this work. Like I can work on it. And they're like, no, you're going to go to rehabilitation for probably 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean go to like a live-in, like I'm going somewhere? And they're like, yeah, for probably 2 to 3 months until you get your strength back. Then you can learn to do stairs again, take care of yourself, all this kind of stuff.
Like you can't go home and stay on your own?
I can't go home, no. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And apparently they've never come across a stubborn Pollock before, because I was like, this ain't happening. And so I told the doctor, I'm like, no, I'll be walking home in 2 days. And she kind of smiled and she gave me one of those, like, go get him, tiger, you know?
Right.
And I was like, I just felt like giving her the,
Right.
big finger. I was like, I'm going to walk out of here, I tell you. And so I did. I just became like a Springer Spaniel. Anytime a nurse walked by my door, anybody walked by, I'm like, hey, can I go for a walk? Can you walk me? Are you busy? Who's free? I want to go. And so I would sleep for 2 hours. I'd go walk for a couple hours. I'd sleep for a couple hours. They were so annoyed with me, I'm sure, because I would not sleep and leave them alone.
Right.
But I was determined. I'm like, I'm going home. I'm not going to some rehabilitation center. And, this is no.
Are you pooping on your own at this time?
I am. But, the funny thing is about having an inflatable is that...
One of many funny things.
One of many funny things. And it's not so much funny as it is horrific, is that...
Same thing.
It takes a while for that to kind of go back to normal. It's like the Holland Tunnel back there for a while. And so I'd be laying in my hospital bed.
You have to tell me I've been to jail. I know. It takes a while for that thing to heal.
So I'd be laying in my bed, and I would be having this, thought in my head of like, okay, do I need to pass gas or do I need to go to the bathroom? And I wouldn't have even finished that thought, fully shit the bed completely. And it's just like diarrhea, pools, like this isn't small, like this is everywhere, huge. And, you would think that would be embarrassing, but when you've been in the situation I have, laying in a bed essentially naked except for a cloth for the better part of almost 3 weeks. And
See, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I would just get all the nurses around and start a betting pool. Okay, all right, place your bets. What do you think this is going to be? Is it going to be fart or is it going to be a spray?
Right.
Place your bets, grab an umbrella, let's go.
How
Let's
far
see
is this going to get on the floor before somebody comes to clean it up?
Somebody
Let's
get
go.
a tape measure. Let's just see if we can set a record here. Let's go.
But so that took a while. But it wasn't embarrassing anymore because I'd had doctors, I've had their assistants. I've had, I think, someone from reception. I think the janitor came by. Everybody wants to take a look when you've had something that's this bizarre. And it's like they don't even ask for it. They just come put their hand on the sheet. Hey, can I take a look?
The janitor's
and I
opinion.
finally
That's
just
what
started slapping people.
I want to
I
get
was
the
like,
janitor's
no,
opinion.
bad, right?
What do you think about the job he did, janitor? Yeah, he did all right.
It's all right. I've seen better.
Yeah, I would have done something different. I would have used some spackle.
But
Whatever.
yeah, I had absolutely no shame, no anything at that point. I was just like, get a good look, man. Whatever.
Right.
Just get me out of here. But the only time I was actually ever embarrassed was my brother came to visit me. And so we were just hanging out and laughing and talking. And of course, when you get laughing, that can, get your bowels going. And I was like, okay, everybody needs to leave right now. Because I'm like, this is going to happen. It would always kind of like start high up.
Right.
And I'm like, I can feel it working. Everybody out, everybody out. So everybody leaves, and I have my call light on for the nurse to come in and help walk me to the bathroom because I still have a walker, which I have to hold on to, which means someone needs to wipe my ass. So I'm waiting for this person to get there. My brother comes back in. He forgot his phone. And I'm like, get out, get out, get out. I'm just yelling it. And as he's
I would have filled his phone up full of all the disgusting pictures of shit and gaping wounds, gaping wounds. And...
So as he's leaving, like he literally turns to shut the door, I literally shit on the floor. And I hear him laughing, like trying to muffle a laugh as he shuts the door. That was embarrassing just because it was family and my brother, because then he can now tease me forever about that. But yeah, there was no control at that point.
Can you describe the sound that it made when it hit the floor? I'm sure it was a very
It
nice...
was linoleum. It was a great
it was
sound.
a very nice
Great
splat.
sound. It was a good echo. I had a private room. Yeah, fantastic.
Call the janitor back.
Right? He has a job now.
Yeah, he's got a reason to be here.
You're welcome.
Holy cow. So where we're at now?
So now we're at like day 15, 16. They came to me and they're like, okay, you're walking pretty good on your own. And we, you've made enough progress in the last 2 days. Like you're a miracle person. You're going to go home. You're not going to have to go to rehab. And I was like, oh, thank God and hallelujah. I've been out of work. All my families have had to find new daycare. Like my life is pretty much over. Like I've lost my business at this point. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm exactly going home to. But...
how much detail this do you want to give? So feel free to not answer if you don't want to. But how was your insurance set up at this time?
My insurance was good. I had, because I was self-employed, I had, insurance that I had to purchase myself. So I was paying, almost $500 a month. So most of it was covered.
Okay.
A lot of it. The unfortunate part about it is I didn't realize, I just went to Fairview because it was the closest hospital and I knew something major was going on. They weren't in my network. So it could have been cheaper probably if it was somewhere in my network. But as things go, my total hospital bill was approximately $225,000.
That's your cost or total?
That was the total cost.
That seems relatively inexpensive,
right? It's not too bad
for that long of a stay.
That was just for the hospital stay. That was for the hospital stay portion. That's not including the wound vac and the aftercare and all that.
Surgery?
No, that was just for those 17 days that I was in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just for those.
I was gonna say that seems very affordable.
No, that was just for those days that I was there, and obviously my insurance covered a lot of that, thankfully. Right. But yeah, so they were like, you're gonna get to go home, but then they had to coordinate with my doctors because I'm gonna need home care because I still have this huge wound on my leg, and that needs to be changed every other day.
Is it like a nurse or is it like a PCA?
It's actually a wound specialist.
Oh wow!
The ones that I went to were in what is the name of it? It's in St. Louis Park. Starts with an M. I'm forgetting the name of the hospital now.
Methodist.
Methodist, thank you. And I was there, every other day for.
Oh, you went to them.
Yep, I went to them. Okay. And then when I couldn't go to them, they had home health nurses that would come in towards the end when I was getting better, who would help me manage it. Because it was obviously in a place where I can't see to like put the packing in there and make sure it's sealed. Like the wound vac itself is a specialty. Like it's not just any nurse can do it. Okay. If something happened to it, I couldn't just go to ER and be like, hey, fix me. They don't know what to do with it. Oh, so wow. I literally had phone numbers for my nurses. If my there's an alarm on it when the suction isn't working, the alarm goes off and doesn't stop going off until the nurse gets there. So that's super fun. Nice to wake up to that in the middle of the night, horrified. I already had like PTSD from this whole experience, and then like I'm sleeping next to a running Honda as it is with this machine that's pumping all this stuff, and yeah, the alarm was pretty shrill, and that was. So creepy.
Is there on that machine? Tell me about that. Is there like a reservoir of stuff that it's?
Oh yeah, and they make it clear. Why do you do that? Why? Why? Tubes clear, little clear catch container. Seriously.
Describe it. What's the color?
Initially, it was really gross. It was kind of a brownish, pinkish kind of stuff with pussy, bloody, whatever.
Right.
And
like you just pop the biggest of all zits kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And towards the end, there was hardly anything that was in there. But what they do is it's not like the sloshy, like liquidy stuff that's in there. They have like, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of little crystals. I always imagine it's something like, those things that soak up humidity and stuff. They'll put them in like the bottom of a box of shoes or whatever. Like
those the thing that says don't eat?
Yeah, those little crystal things. That's kind of what it looked like in there. And so that like sucks up all this liquid that's forming into the thing. So it's kind of this disgusting crystallized thing that's in there.
Looks like a little hot dish going on in there.
Looks like a little egg that you knocked open or something. I don't know.
Gross. Like in the very beginning when it was first, like what was the average for how much fluid or material was coming out a day? Just a quart, a cup?
I would say probably 2 cups initially a day.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, that thing was full like every other day when they'd come to change it. But that didn't last long. When I was going in as well, when I would go into Methodist to have them change it, they had silver nitrate that they would use to treat it. Mm-hmm. And what that does was to even out the scarring. So like if there was an area, like when the wound is healing, if there was an area of skin that was kind of going over an open area, they basically burn it off with this silver nitrate.
Okay, I don't think I know what silver nitrate is.
Silver nitrate it almost looks like a matchstick. Okay. And it's just it's silver nitrate. It's an element. Okay. And what it does when it goes on skin is it burns. So that's what they.
It's just a reaction. There's no heat to it or anything. It's just a normal reaction.
It's just a chemical reaction. And what they did was they gave me lidocaine so that the rest of my area was numbed, so I couldn't feel it doing that. But what they forget when they're treating an area that curves like basically around your butt is that it's curvy. And so where the lidocaine ran because it's liquid, this stuff followed. So my entire ass felt like it was on fire. And I'm like, this really hurts. This really hurts. She's like, no, you've got the lidocaine. You're good. I'm like, no, my ass is on fire. And so she finally looks, she's like, oh. So she wipes it off. And I'm like, oh my God. For 2 days, that hurt horribly, horribly bad. But they do that to prevent the overgrowth so you don't get more bacteria underneath again so it doesn't heal, before it's ready to move up and heal. And it also helps with the scarification, too, to keep the area even. So you don't have big, jutting areas of scar tissue.
Right.
So, yeah.
So where are we at time-wise now?
We are at, I would guess, like maybe let's skip ahead a little bit because all this is pretty much just wound vacs and treatments and doctor's
Right.
visits and things like that. But let's see, when I finally started feeling more normal was probably towards the end of May.
Okay.
And I think it was maybe the beginning of May. Now, this all happened March 28th was my initial surgery. The beginning of May was when I finally felt like my head was starting to clear. Like I could think cohesively. I felt more normal and like myself. Except I had this horrible, for probably almost a year, I was super, super emotional. Like I couldn't talk about it like this, like I am now. I would have cried like 80 times by now. Just because the whole experience was so traumatic. And like just, watching a Hallmark commercial, just tears. Someone says, oh, you did a really great job on this. Oh, thank you so much. Just tears all the time.
Right.
So I don't know what that's from, if that was the drugs or just the emotional part of it or whatever. But that was horrible.
Well, I'm sure there's got to be a like literally a post-traumatic stress, component to it, right? I mean, because that's
Absolutely. I believe
you
that
knew
fully.
that there was not, a less than 50% survival.
Yeah.
And aside from that, the thought of possibly waking up one less leg, which is great because then you only have to buy one shoe. I think you get 50% off.
I know, right? Just find somebody else who had the same thing and lost their other leg. I mean, just buddy up, partner
Brilliant,
up.
right?
I love my shoes. I'd be down.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. But aside from that, though, that's stressful, right?
It was very stressful. Oh, and especially being out of work, like I'm a single lady.
Right.
I have a mortgage. I've now been out of work, from the end of March until it's now May. There's no income coming in. I'm not like a Vanderbilt. I don't have some little nest egg set aside in case I'm out of work for 6 months.
Was there, and it's another thing you don't have to talk, but I'm just curious, was there, with being a independent person, own business, did you have some kind of unemployment thing? Did you have a savings enough to live off of?
I had a savings to live off of for a few months, like for the
Right.
first 3 months, but not for the 6 months that I needed it. So thank God for my mom. Thank God for my ex-husband and my friends and my family.
Your ex-husband helped?
Oh, yeah. My ex-husband paid my mortgage for 2 months for me
No
while I
shit.
was in the hospital because I was out of it. I couldn't do anything.
Oh, awesome for
My
him.
mom had no
Congrats.
access to my accounts because she's not a person on there. And so he took advantage of the fact that we were married before. We have one of our old checkbooks that I have my account set up on for my daycare. It has his name on it.
Oh,
So he went in there and put money in the account and paid it for me because he was on that account. So
cool.
yeah, so he helped out a lot. He's been great. So and my mom was my rock through this whole thing because she was the one driving me to all these appointments. I couldn't drive,
Right.
obviously wound vac and all this stuff, not optimal driving. And they just rallied around me and took care of me. My cousin came out, and despite the fact that she works full time as a nurse and has a family and 2 young kids, she was coming out to make sure I was okay. And everybody rallied around me, which was great. And I feel very fortunate to have had.
Because it's so rare, we said about 1,000, 2,000 cases.
It's like 1,000 to 2,000 a year.
Was there any specialists or people who are studying this disease that contacted you? That was it
No.
that? Okay.
I haven't had anyone contact me about it. I had joined a group called Necrotizing Fasciitis Worldwide that was on Facebook, and it's kind of like a support group, which I highly recommend if anybody knows anyone who's been through something traumatic like that, or MRSA, or anything else that's really affected their lives, is to get help, get support, be with people who have been through that. Because
So you've met other people now with it?
I've met many other people with it.
Are they all from here in Minnesota area?
Some are from Minnesota area. There's one I think he's in Owatonna.
Okay.
His was pretty severe. His was down his torso, and he's got major scarification. But like he's a runner. Like he's turned it around. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's made it a positive. You know what I mean? And that's what I find mostly in the community. There isn't really anybody who's like, oh, I'm so down and life sucks. It's you really celebrate life when you almost lose it. And I've met people who, like I said, I feel like I won the lottery with this disease, in the fact that it didn't kill me. I didn't have limbs lost. I don't have huge scarification. I don't have, huge side effects that are going to be with me for the rest of my life. I've met people who are 11, 12, 20 years out from this disease who have had 24 surgeries. They're still getting skin grafts. They've lost limbs. They're still losing toes. Like it's really intense. It's very intense. And like that study I told you about where they pooled, 400 people together who had NF, got posted in that group and created quite a ruckus, because that little poll that these doctors put together and did basically said that once you've had NF, you've got about a 5-year lifespan after.
What?
Yeah. Now in my group, I've known people who've had it 11 years, 15 years, they're 20 years out from this disease. But as I looked around after seeing that article, I noticed more people like me who were 1 or 2 years out or 6 months out. So I wonder how much truth there is to it. So
did they respond to your guys'?
No, I wouldn't know who to contact regarding it, but it would be interesting to know. But everyone kind of just said, you know, it's a pool of 400 people out of however many people get. Like, that's not a good sampling. You know, you don't know if these people were already sick, if they're, you know, very overweight, if they, you know, have any other things going on, you know, prior to this or whatever. And so it wasn't a good indication, they kept saying. But it's something that now that I've read it is in the back of my mind, because now I am where you were. Total worst case scenario is always in my head. So is something that makes me want to live my everyday like it's, you know, this could be my last year here. Who knows?
Right.
You know?
Holy cow. So when did you get your clean bill of health? When did they say, or have you yet? I mean, are you still getting
I still don't have a clean bill of health. I'm over a year out. My surgery, like I said, was March 28th, and it's been a little over a year. And
is it just checkups at this point, though, or is
it's mostly checkups? Yeah.
Okay.
They're still monitoring my kidney function because my kidneys really took a beating.
Right.
And that coupled with the fact that I'm now diabetic.
Is that because of just the infection in the system, or
in your body trying to process all those drugs that were in you? And obviously your kidney filters everything in your body, so all that infection has to filter through that.
Jeez.
You know, so that it definitely can affect it, and it has mine a great deal. So that is something I always check. My numbers currently, even over a year out, are still, 15 times what they should be for a normal kidney.
Okay.
And I mean, before that, they were off the charts, like 45 times what they should have been.
Is there a risk of kidney failure?
There is if I don't take care of myself.
Okay.
But knowing that I'm diabetic now, I do take care of myself. I watch the carbs that I eat. I do mainly a keto type diet. I can't go totally keto because I do need to have some carbs, because then my blood sugar could dip too low.
Right.
So I have to strike a balance. But yeah, I do very low carbs. I don't drink sodas anymore. Very rarely will I ever even go and have a drink or something like that. I just try and keep what's going into my body as clean as possible. So that's one of the things has been really hard, is that not only has this, I lost my business, I almost lost my house, I've lost friends through this that I thought were going to be there for me. And it's like, and now I can't even have a friggin' donut when I want one. You know what I mean? And I mean, I suppose I could, but that donut also looks a lot less appealing when you realize, well, that could cause this to happen again. I could lose my leg, or now I'm diabetic, I could lose my feet or something. You know?
I want to ask you about, the what happened with your job and all that stuff. But what was the other question? What about medication? Are you taking like a regular medication that's specifically?
I'm on medications. It's not specifically for NF, but I do have diabetic pills that I take. I have actually a heart pill that I'm taking right now because of damage that's happened to my body.
So that is resulting from the NF.
They apples and oranges. I don't know. They're not sure.
It's not like there's like something fighting infection that may reoccur.
No, I don't have anything that's going on. Like, I don't have congestive heart failure or anything like that, or anything going on. But I do metformin, which is for the diabetes, and I'm on amlodipine and lisinopril and a whole host of medications to get things under control.
Is there any bad side effects associated with those that you have to deal with?
There are. If my blood sugar is low and I've taken my medication, I can get really lightheaded and dizzy. Like if I stand up and then I'm like, okay, I know I need to eat, or I need to notify my doctor about backing off on one of the meds because something's off. So that's stuff that I have to monitor. But I go in and see my doctors with a lot of frequency. So.
And then physically, are you 100% movement?
Yeah, I'm 100% movement, 100% leg usage. Okay. Although I think it's because of all the material and stuff that they took out, I feel like one of my thighs isn't as long as the other one, which is weird. Because when I stand, I feel like I'm not like lopsided. But if I sit like with my legs like in a froggy position, or like how you sit, crisscross applesauce, whatever you want to call it,
right?
Like that leg won't go down as far as the other one. Okay. And it doesn't hurt; it just won't go. So I don't know if that's just from where the surgery was and the skin is now where it is, but so that's the only thing that's kind of bizarre. Otherwise, I have full mobility. Initially, when I came home, let's see, this was in October, so I had been out of the hospital since April. April 13th was when I came home. And I started my new job in July. And then I was working my new job in October. And I started tripping and falling at work. And it was just inexplicable. I felt completely fine. All my numbers have been great at my doctor's. Like, everything was going great. I'm like, why can I no longer walk?
Was it like a coordination thing? Like, was
no, I couldn't lift my toe. My big toe would not lift up. And I was like, what is going on? So then it was more battery of tests and things like that to find out what's going on. I ended up going in and having, I forget what it's called, but basically they do like prod you with electrodes. And it's extremely painful because they want to test those nerves and see what's going on. So I had a pinched nerve in my leg.
That was it.
That was it. So
was that associated with the procedures and the surgeries, or just
they don't know.
Coincidental?
They don't know. They said what it can be from is sitting with your legs crossed, like you put pressure on that part on your outside of your knee. That if you put pressure there, that it can cause this. And they were like, "Have you started doing anything differently?"
Was it anything with the? It's hard to say because it's spelled funny. It's the scion something nerve. I can't think of the name of it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Sciatic.
Sciatic.
That's what you're talking about.
Is it that?
It could be. They didn't mention sciatic with mine. They think it was from pressure, from sitting with your legs crossed.
Okay.
And they're like, "Have you been doing that?" And I was like, "Well, I did start an office job, so probably."
Okay. Yeah. You're not used. Yeah, it's a different lifestyle than what you were doing
Right,
before.
because before I was running around after kids all day. If I was sitting down, I was reading a story with a bunch of kids in my lap or something. You know what I mean? Like.
Well,
yeah.
well, then let's talk
so
about.
that took another 6 months for that to like come back where I could walk. I had a boot on my foot. It's just been all kinds of chaos.
Right. Well, let's talk about that then. Your job before, you owned your own daycare business, right?
Yep, I've been doing that for 12 years.
As disgusting as it sounds to me to have to put up with other people's kids, not to mention having kids of your own.
Oh.
Sorry, that's just my personal preference.
I know you're entitled to your opinion. It's
right?
wrong, but
but you're doing the job. You're like a firefighter or something. I wouldn't want to do that. But you lost a job, right? Or you lost a business. Is that just because you just weren't there to do it?
Yeah, I couldn't go back to doing that. I had a wound vac, hooked up to me with a gaping wound. I was on all these medications. I didn't feel strong enough physically, to do anything. I, just barely learned to re-walk a couple months ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, I was newly diabetic and on all these new medications. And I'm like, how am I going to be in my house alone with 6 children who are depending on me, and I pass out because I forget to eat, or my medication's off, or I can't run around and this kid climbed a fence and tried to get out of my yard. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought of all those worst case scenarios, and I'm like, I'm not fit to do this job.
Okay.
I don't trust myself and my body that I'm going to be able to watch these kids and take care of them to the best of my ability.
So not a choice that you probably wanted to make, but a choice that you did make ultimately.
A choice that I had to make.
So I was just curious if maybe like the parents were like, oh, she's got like,
Oh, no. They were like, when are you coming back? I was getting texts all the time. They wanted to come visit, and, the kids miss me.
Because they don't want their damn kid. That's why. They're like, okay, we get it. You almost lost your leg, but can you please take these bastards and get them out of our house for a little bit?
I did feel one of the parents was like that, because I literally had just come out of surgery, and she's like, so are you going to be back like by the end of the week? I'm like, bitch, will you look up what this is?
It's just a kid. You don't need both legs, right?
Right. Just hop around. We'll just get you a scooter. Be fine.
We'll drug him up. He won't even move. Just sit there.
Right.
You can prop your leg up on him.
There we
can be
go.
like
Better yet.
like an ottoman. That's his name, actually. We call him
Ottoman.
Ottoman.
Helpers. Yeah.
He's
But yeah,
uptown kid.
and obviously these parents weren't going to wait around for me to find daycare. You know what I mean? They can't just be without daycare for 5 months. They have jobs. They have lives. I realize that stuff needs to go on. So even if I had been able to continue my business, I would have to start advertising and everything again and try and build back up a clientele. And I didn't feel at that point.
If you wanted to right now, are you physically where you could do the job?
Oh, yeah, I could absolutely do it right now. 100%.
But what do you don't have to give exacts. What are you doing now? You said office work, but is it?
Yeah, I work actually for a sponsoring agency for the USDA food program.
Oh.
So basically the program that sponsored me when I was a daycare and gave me money for feeding my kids good food.
Right.
I work for them now and give other daycares and daycare centers funding.
So still kind of connected to the industry you're in and from a different angle?
I'm passionate about kids. I love kids. I loved what I did. And I was like, I can't not have that in my life. I couldn't do a job where I'm just pushing around paper and not affecting things in life. And I thought, if I can't run around and do the things I wanted to, back in July when I got the job last
Are you sure
July.
those kids didn't give you the Flushing disease? Because I mean, right
I
there
mean,
at the thigh, that's why where they reach their little grubby, dirty hands all the time.
you
Like,
never
hey,
know.
give me
Somebody-
some Cheerios or something.
Somebody could have had strep throat. Maybe that's how
Yeah,
I got
see?
it. Who knows? You know what I mean?
I blame the
See,
kids.
dangers of children. There you go.
Exactly. One of the many.
No, stop it. But it was hard. It was a super hard decision. But I was
Right.
like, physically, I can't do it. But I still need to affect change in the world. And I'm like, at least this way I can do something for children, that's going to help them in their lives. So that's what I chose to do. I started off working in the claims department, which basically is home daycare providers. They keep track of all the meals that they're feeding. And we have monitors that go out to make sure they're feeding the foods they say they are, and just to check up on the kids and make sure everything's going smoothly. And then at the end of the month, they, send in their stuff either via paper claims or via the internet. And then we give them funding based on how many meals that they're serving.
Oh, okay.
So it gives them a little incentive to feed better foods, to feed whole grains, to make sure fruits and vegetables are on the plate, and all that kind of good stuff.
And again, I'm just curious questions, and you don't have to give exacts. Did you make a lateral move financially? Are you doing better financially now? Or
Oh, I did not make a lateral move financially.
Okay.
This was a huge step down.
really?
Huge,
Wow,
huge.
that sucks.
Yeah. I went from running my own business and making really good money, because a lot of my stuff was write-offs. My entire house is a deduction.
Right.
The field trips we went on are a deduction. The food I bought, half part of the utilities based on your time and space percentage, all this tax stuff you do.
Right.
It's all, deductions. And so now I don't have that. I still have the $1,600 mortgage.
Right.
But now I went to a job where I was making very little.
Okay.
I was making barely more than what would have qualified me on the food program if I had a kid for assistance.
Wow.
That was huge. And it was actually one of the reasons for one of the falling outs with one of my friends, because I couldn't hang anymore. Like I was broke. I wasn't fun anymore. I couldn't go out all the time, and
Was that
I was a drag.
you had mentioned that you lost some friends over this?
Yeah.
Was that it specifically, just that, or
There are many different instances, but those people that aren't in my life, I wouldn't give any attention to or piss on if they were on fire. So
Okay.
I choose not to discuss them.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
But it was very, very selfish and self-centered people. So it's best that they're not in my life anyway.
Okay. Just took a little flesh disease to figure
Right.
that out.
Yep, to flush them all out.
Did we miss anything else? Is there anything else in the story?
I'm trying to think if there was anything really interesting else that happened. When I was first learning to walk,
Mm-hmm.
I had just gotten my inflatable out, thank God. But I had no balance. I didn't really have good coordination. I was like being a toddler again. So I've
Right.
got this little walker and I'm trying to do my best, but I have no stamina. I've got hardly any stability. And the nurse who was walking me shouldn't have been, because she clearly didn't know what she was doing. She didn't have well, I won't get into that. I don't want to talk anything bad about the hospital, because they really did a great job with me. But when we got back to the room, she went over to the whiteboard, I'm sure, to write down what I walked or whatever the things were. And she's like, just have a seat right there. And I'm like, I can't, because I'm facing, this way and the chair is to the side of me. Like I would have to turn to sit in the chair, and I know I can't turn.
Right.
Like I can barely walk with this walker in a straight line. And she's like, oh, no, you can do it. It's just right there next to you. And I'm like, no, I can't. And she's just writing on the board, and I can feel my legs shaking because I don't have the stamina to stand there. And so I tried to get to the chair, but the second I lifted that leg to try and turn, I just fell straight backwards. Just right on my ass, hit my head on the bed.
I would have.
And then she comes running over.
I would have pooped on her right there.
Yeah, she's lucky I didn't. I just thank God to this day I didn't have that freaking inflatable up there, because I probably would have died. But yeah, so that was probably the worst experience there. But otherwise, everybody there was amazing. So, I mean, aside from the lack of privacy and shitting the bed and all the other things that go on, the professionals I got to work with were really good that took care of me. So,
Right. Well, good.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made it. You're a good person. I've known you for a while, and I'm very happy to see that you're happy, that you're smiling,
Yes.
and that you're doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Things get better, and actually for my job, I actually just got a promotion, so things are getting better financially too, which
cool.
is a huge relief.
Keep giving her more money. Keep giving
Right?
her, give her some more.
Support me. Here's my Patreon. No, I'm just kidding.
One more time, then. What's like the resources for learning more about the disease that you had, and the contact group for anybody that's interested?
Yeah, if you wanted to get in touch with anybody on Facebook, there's a group called Necrotizing Fasciitis Worldwide. Necrotizing is Necrotizing. Fasciitis is Faciitius. Fasciitis.
Take your word for it. Have no clue.
Right. But you can also look up NF. You'll probably find the same thing. That's what it's usually called in our little circle. But there's tons of resources available online as far as different things in medical journals and things like that. If you decide to Google pictures, please brace yourself. It is gruesome.
Definitely.
Just a heads up.
Make sure you're like not eating like a roast beef sandwich, like right when you look.
It's probably not good. Anything with ketchup too, probably not
good God. Well, thank you for sitting down and having this conversation with me. I'm educated about it now.
Thanks
and also
for having me.
About inflatables. That was really good.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, there you go. Another episode is in the books, and that one was pretty interesting, if I do say so myself. How many of you made it all the way through? Any of you guys get grossed out? Any of you guys vomit? Any of you guys get the heebie-jeebies? I don't know. Is that a PC term now? I don't even know. That sounds kind of racist. I don't know. It doesn't mean to be. It's hard to keep up nowadays. You know, some words that used to be fine to say, can't say anymore. Heebie-jeebies to me just means something that makes you creepy. But I don't mean it in any other kind of way if it means something else. But whatever. I hope you made it all the way through, because that is a crazy story of survival, right? I'm telling you, this Filter Free America podcast, we give you everything, right? We give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? And that was a story of medical survival, right? She contracted this flesh-eating disease, and her, along with the medical staff, fought it back, and she survived, and she lived to tell the tale right here on Filter Free America. You can't get that anywhere else, right? I don't know. You probably can. You probably can get similar stories other places, but at least not in my completely awesome, way entertaining style. But whatever. No. I don't know what we got coming up next week. I don't have anything recorded yet for next week. I gotta get it going. I don't know. Hopefully we'll have some more things going pretty soon. But I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you to my sponsor, Simple Website. You guys are phenomenal. You guys are awesome. A new website will be coming soon. Maybe by the time you hear this episode, it might be up. Maybe I don't think it's gonna be up that soon, but shortly thereafter. But whatever. Do the rate review thing, guys. Go wherever you're listening to this, rate it, review it, share it with your friends, with your family, share it with strangers. Just pull people aside. Hey, have you checked this show out? I know I don't know you, and I know you don't know me, but I'm just going to recommend this podcast to you because I don't know. I'm just trying to help this guy out because it's a good show. Do things like that, whatever. But, you know, I love you guys. Take care of yourself. Love each other. Don't hate each other. Don't fight over politics. Don't fight over dumb stuff. High five each other, right? That's what we should do, right? When you see somebody you don't like, you just say, you know what, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you politically. I don't agree with you socially. I'm just going to give you a high five, right? Just because, I don't know, I want to do something positive. I don't want to do anything hateful to you. And maybe in a strange way, if we give enough high fives out there, we'll fix everything, right? Yeah, that's never going to happen. Whatever. Never going to happen. We're all just going to end up in a big fight one day. And then I'll record an episode of Filter Free America and interview the survivors. Whatever. I love you guys. Take care of yourself. Keep seeking the truth. Bye-bye.